evening, folks, and welcome to the Freeman Files here in the J-Free 906 podcast channel. Mike Owen, how you doing tonight, sir?
Doing very well.
You're so lucky you're just a week away. Actually,
yes.
Not less than a week away.
Yes.
From Phenomicon. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. You're going to have a great time. Hello, folks out there. So glad to have you join us here tonight. Appreciate it very much. I saw a lot of... Yes, I saw Michelle Stratton was saying that she heard that I was going to miss one. Yes, I was going to miss tonight. Was scheduled to miss this one and then kind of double them up next week, but I was able to change my schedule a little bit, so I'm not leaving until early in the morning. So you can get this one in. I really wanted to do this podcast tonight. Now, next week might be a little different. We'll have to see how we're going to do things for next week because it is the season finale. We do have a special guest is going to join us. So I'm working with the special guest on when they can be here, and Phenomicon's happening. So Mike might not even get a chance to watch the show next Tuesday night.
It's going to be a busy week.
It's going to be a very busy week. Yeah. You've got a lot of people that are going to take you and drag you around, you and your wife, all over the place.
And this is all new, so my first time. So go easy on me if you see me, because I don't know what's going on. If I look lost, just escort me out. I don't know.
Well, Jim and Michelle, there'll be plenty of people. They'll come and guide you, just like they did with me and everything as we went through all the last couple of years with it. So, but you're going to have a great time. So we'll see what's going to happen. But Mike has said, I'm going to fire up the server. I'm going to get the podcast server fired up, and I'll be at Mike's beckoning call. When he calls me and said, hey, Jeff, I got a few minutes. You want to go live? I'll go live, bring him on, and he'll be at Phenomicon. He'll be the remote newscaster at Phenomicon for us. So he'll be giving us reports. Reporter, that's it. The remote reporter. So anyway, but yeah, that's why we're here tonight. Next week, we don't know. If we don't do the season wrap up next Wednesday night, we will do it the following week. So keep that in mind. So Tuesday evening, some of us are going to try and plan the episode on our phone, play the episode on our phones while we're at the Insider Reunion. Oh, okay. There you go. You may get to watch it after all then. Yeah.
Good.
All right. So that's why we're here tonight. Next week, I don't know. We're going to play it by ear and see what happens with that. So anyway, thank you folks for joining us here tonight. We very much appreciate it. And if you haven't already, as I always say, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have not already, click that like button if you like the content of the show we do for you here tonight. We appreciate that very, very much. Like to get that rolling. All right, so let's get started with this, shall we? All right, let me get my pictures in order here. Let's see, there we go. I had to redo my desk and everything in this room and a little bit, so it's things are not quite where they would normally be for me. All right, here we go. So add to stage. All right, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, season 6, episode number 13, Fire in the Holes. Interesting one for that. And this particular episode starts off back at the Fugel Gateway there at the university. It's the Utah Valley University. Utah Valley University. Yeah. Yep. And they were picking up where they left off last week when they were looking at that piece of ceramic that was boiling in the liquid nitrogen. And I think it was, here it is here. And I was talking with Mike a little bit about this before the show started here tonight. And, it's kind of hard for me anyway to wrap my brain around how this works, why it's boiling like that. And Mike, you did a great explanation for me about that. If you don't mind, do that again for everyone else that might be in my boat.
So if you take the temperature up and replace the little piece of ceramic with, let's just say, a steel ball, and you heat that steel ball up to cherry red, so it's super hot, and you dump it into a cup of water. Mm-hmm. All of the water that touches that steel ball that is red hot is going to instantly turn to a gas and start bubbling. So if you think of it from that standpoint, it's just a matter of time. Even though it may be cherry red, the water is going to eventually cool that down, assuming that you have enough water in the cup. It's going to cool it down, and the water will heat up too, but not all of it will boil off. So essentially the same thing. It's just that temperature differential.
That's
And
what I was, yeah.
if the ceramic is room temperature, so let's say 70 degrees, liquid nitrogen's at minus 321 degrees. So it's almost a 400 degree difference.
Yeah.
So you drop that into liquid nitrogen, anything into liquid nitrogen that's room temperature, and it's going to boil like crazy. But it should cool down because it is pulling heat. It's using energy to boil that liquid nitrogen to a gas. That takes energy. You're exciting molecules, and they're going from liquid to a gas, just like the water would if there was a steel ball in it that was really hot.
Right.
So where is that heat coming from? In particular, if they showed a lot of the shots from the last episode, they showed portions of that little chip out of the liquid nitrogen and just kind of stuff boiling around it.
Right.
But on this episode, they show it fully submerged in liquid nitrogen. So when part of it is exposed to the air, it can be still drawing some heat from the air and sending that through the ceramic into. So there's a path for that heat to travel, right? Although it seems to be doing it much faster than you would expect it to be. But once it's fully submerged, Eric even made a comment. Where is it getting that energy? It's almost like it's pulling energy from the environment.
That's weird.
That shouldn't happen with just a chunk of ceramic. I mean, it's not, getting a signal. It's not being radiated by microwaves or anything. There's nothing that should be giving that thing energy. It should only be draining and getting cooler and cooler and cooler until it's cold, so cold that there isn't enough of a temperature differential between its temperature and the liquid nitrogen at minus 321, and you will stop seeing bubbles. And from what they said, it never stopped producing bubbles.
Right. It did slow down.
Time.
Yeah, it did slow down a little bit. And you see that picture here, they were showing it slowing down. But as in the behind the gates, as Maddie or as Travis said right here, and it never completely cooled off. Never. Right. So they finally gave up trying and just went ahead and pulled it out and then tried to see if it was maybe superconductor type, material.
Yep.
And that's a whole nother physics that kind of blows me away. But you bring something down to 320 degrees Fahrenheit, or that, a semiconductor or a superconductor, and you put it over a magnet at that temperature, and it'll actually levitate or repel or push away.
It'll push itself away because it wants to maintain its magnetic direction. It doesn't want to change its magnetism. So it repels away from the magnet that it's sitting under. And when, people may have seen this demonstration done with a superconductor, the superconductor that they use is usually obviously a very uniform shape, whereas this chunk of ceramic is not a uniform shape. So it's not even all that concerning that it didn't levitate all on its own, because it was kind of an odd shape. So the forces pushing it up may not have been equal on all sides, and so it just kind of shoved itself off center from the magnet so that it got pushed away, which, like Travis said, is another indication that it may be more than it appears to be. So,
yeah, a lot of good questions popping up here. I wonder if the heat inside the ceramic would have shown to be abnormal if it had been looked at through a FLIR or similar type camera. Interesting.
That would have been
that would have been a good one.
Yep, they could put thermal camera on it the whole time.
And then Santa Schultz said, I was wondering if why they haven't tested the ceramic they got against a sample of ceramic from NASA from one of these shuttles. Oh, that would have been interesting too. That
Yep.
would have been interesting if they could do that. And you figure Travis could probably get that, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, are you allowed to just walk off base with it?
Mr.
I mean,
Mr. Rocket City. He probably has some
right.
in his basement.
Yeah, this means that the ceramic is capable of storing more energy or
Right.
heat than something
Yes.
that size, mass, or mass should be able to. Exactly,
Yep.
Tom.
Yep.
Yeah. So it brings you back to the whole thing. What the heck is this stuff? What is it? Now, when they decided they finally gave up trying to get it to get down to the temperature of the liquid nitrogen, and they kept adding some into it to keep it submerged. And you, like Mike said, there was one point where the top of it was exposed, and maybe if it was being exposed like that, it wasn't completely submerged, it was pulling in heat from somewhere. What does that? I don't know, but it could have, I suppose. But when they finally gave up on it and they took it out of the liquid nitrogen, and then they tried to put it in there was a magnet in a dish. They put another dish on top of that petri dish on top of that, and then they took this thing with some tweezers and they put it over top of it a couple of times. We saw it twice that they did it, and both times it pushed away from the center of the dish where the magnet was. It just pushed away and landed off to the edge. They did it again. The first time they did it, they actually had metal forceps. I saw him was using
Yeah, I
the
saw it. It kind of sucked down to the
yeah,
to
he
the
got
magnet.
stuck to the he got
Like,
stuck to
whoops.
the magnet. But then they thought, okay, let's use the plastic ones or whatever, the non metal ones. And then sure enough, this time it did it again. It pushed away. I mean, so the same effect happened again. And that brings us right back to that same question. What
Yeah.
in the heck does this? What, you know, this is some amazing stuff. What in the actual crap? Exactly.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. What in the actual crap? You can buy pieces of the tiles. Oh, I did not know that. Yeah. It's Kevin. Still music or other carnage. Yeah. Thank you. Um, Have they ever mentioned controlled experiments done off-site, like monitoring 1.6, 1.2 from distance? They
Yeah.
have mentioned it, but I don't
Yep.
know, yeah,
Yep.
the details on all of that. I wonder if the elemental done, did they look with the elemental done, did they look at the electron configuration to determine if it can be reverse engineered?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the many questions that comes up when you're trying to figure something out like that is, how would I make this?
Yes.
If
Yes.
I had to recreate this, how would I make it? And they do have kind of the elements that go into it.
Mhm.
So is that something that they could produce, or is it beyond capabilities?
I think they would be able to,
I would think so. I mean, the elements weren't anything too crazy.
right?
Um, so yeah, I don't know. That would be a good experiment to try.
Mhm. Now, here's something that I also got from the Behind the Gates episode afterwards, and I'm going to run through these real quick. These were just, I had the closed captioning on so I could catch everything that they were saying here. And this is Travis again. He's talking about that piece of ceramic coming down to temperature. And since it never completely got down to full temperature, when we placed it in the external magnetic field, what we did see was that there was enough movement to overcome the magnetic field. That is the Messner effect?
Meisner.
Meisner effect. Meisner
Yep.
effect. So, yeah, it's and you heard them say on a couple of different occasions manufactured material. And then Eric said manufactured for a purpose. So, again, we go back to why is this in the Mesa? What would it be doing there? Now I know that Travis was still on the whole thing about it being a possibility of it being some sort of a human made material that was on some sort of a spacecraft, experimental reentry type spacecraft that may have crashed into way off target and crashed into the Mesa, and then they came and retrieved it. Looking at those pictures again, we didn't really see any evidence that, I mean, his AI told him it was disturbed or doctored or whatever, but I mean, I don't know. That's still a, other than that 1964 nickel, I mean, I don't, we discussed that a lot last week, so we'll just move on. They also decided to go ahead and try the effect that they got when they did this a couple weeks ago, where they put it in front of the electron microscope, and to see if they could reproduce this again. Didn't they say? Didn't they say we're already using the tech to levitate high-speed trains?
Yeah.
It is magnet tech, yes.
Yeah. They're using magnetism to do it. I don't know that they're using superconductors, but
Right.
it can still be done with traditional magnets and electromagnets.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's what they're using to levitate the trains. Yeah, so it's not the complete Meissner effect with the cooling of stuff. That would be really hard to keep something cold. That so it would continue that levitation.
Yeah, right.
But if this is something that can do that, remember how they were having it was first it was attracted to the magnet, and then it was repelling the magnet when they were at in the command center at the table there. If that can be done at room temperature, now it's a whole game changer.
Yep.
So what and we've got a little tidbits for this. We were talking about reverse engineering it. Next week, I don't have pictures for next time, next episode, but we do have some people that are examining that ceramic in a sealed container. So who are they and what are they looking to do, or what are they capable of doing with it? I don't know, but we'll find out next week, hopefully, to see what's going on with it. So this is still a very huge deal to find this in the Mesa. So we're going to get more details next week. So then we have this where they decided to go and put it through the microscope again. And this time, half of it was coated with gold. Now, I don't know. I heard one mention of it being painted. Then I heard you see him taking something off from it.
It looks like gold leaf.
Yeah,
just
like gold
thin
leaf.
gold film that he laid on top of it.
Right. So
gold leaf can be just a few microns thick.
Yeah.
But,
we've seen
but
them
still cover the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, when they gild something, I've seen them like take that stuff and like paint it on with a brush. It's metal or it's gold, a sheet or whatever, and then a film, and then they use a brush and paint it onto something.
Yep.
So he covered half of it with gold, and then they put it into this scanning microscope, and there it is. There you can see the line, but I guess half of it is this half's covered with gold, and this half isn't. I don't know. It doesn't look gold, but I don't know. Again, I don't know. Maybe he put it back on, or
that right side, I think, is the gold side.
Oh, okay.
It's a little shinier. You can see it's kind of goldish. But again, I think it was gold leaf in that, like I said, it's so thin.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take the shape of anything underneath it. So.
Right. Yeah. Once you do that brush effect, it will. So they put this in there, and initially they wanted to see what it would do. So he scrolled it around. You saw him scrolling around, looking at the gold content of it first, and then he scrolled down to just the ceramic side. And immediately, this was it before it started, or when they first turned it on. And this was after. Now we're assuming a few seconds. I don't know how long this took. I'm assuming it only took a few seconds.
Right.
That's kind of the way they made it seem on the show, that it only took a few seconds for this to start happening. And again, they called it holes. and I have to go with that because I don't know what they are. I was thinking, are they
Voids. I don't know what else you call it.
yeah, voids, or are they some sort of a stain or something happening to the surface of the material that's on it? Uh, but the same effect happened again that happened the first time. And I don't know, this one had been cleaned. I don't know if this one had been cleaned. They didn't really talk about that that I caught. Like they went through that
Yeah.
whole process of put it in the sonic cleaner.
Yeah.
Pores, I would call them pores.
Yeah.
More than holes because they open and close. Ooh, interesting. Like pores on your skin. Ooh, that's pretty crazy. Now the area that was covered in gold also. Now, did you catch a full? I listened to this a couple of times and was trying to really understand exactly what was happening there with the gold side. Was it making
Yeah.
the holes through the gold as well?
Yeah. Yeah. As I think as the if you want to say pores started to open, it tore the gold leaf and created holes in the gold as it disintegrated.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty
so
crazy.
the effect was happening on the through the gold. The electron beam wasn't apparently stopped by the gold. It went through that and continued to do the same thing to the ceramic tile underneath that gold leaf.
When they turned off the scanning electron microscope, they turned off the electron beam on it, and you see the gold. You still see the effect it had on the gold. There's still a blemish there in this area here on the gold.
So the tile healed itself underneath the gold, just like it did down below.
Yeah.
Right. But the gold was still torn in that spot where it had disintegrated and opened up the gold.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the point is that physically happened. This is not an optical effect. And we were not entirely certain if it could be still an optical effect. Is it just, the electrons aren't rebounding from that area? And so it's kind of like LiDAR. If it doesn't bounce back to the base, you don't see it. It just disappears. But it does appear that it was in fact disintegrating and then reconstituting. And it came out of a mesa.
And it came,
This would be impressive regardless of where they found it. These properties are impressive no matter where it comes from.
Yep.
To know that it actually came out of a mesa, deep inside a mesa, makes it all the more difficult to explain. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So
is there any, I know I've asked this question before and I just throw it out there again. Is there any doubt that there's something weird inside that mesa? Some kind of thing? I don't think there's any doubt at this point. And man, this is nuts. Now, the thing they talked about with this too, was this ceramic material something, because it broke, they were able to crunch it up with that, pestle, and it just crunched it up like like into a powder almost.
Yes.
This would be impressive if it came out of a lab at Stanford or MIT. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it would be. But and so they were wondering, is this material, because you saw what happened to the drill bits and stuff, and all that went on with those things.
Yeah.
Tore them up. I mean, absolutely tore them up. Now, was it the ceramic that did that, or did the ceramic chip away and it was the thing underneath the ceramic that the ceramic would have been on that tore it? Once they hit that and broke away the ceramic, and then all of a sudden now they're hitting the object that's under the ceramic that it was on.
Yep.
That we just don't know yet.
But Travis did say maybe this was just a shell coating protecting something that was much harder. Like I said, you should not assume that it was the ceramic that was breaking tungsten carbide teeth.
Correct.
We just know ceramic came out of there, and it was in an area where the drill bit was being damaged.
Right.
So there's probably still something in there that's pretty hard. I am surprised that they didn't get more out of the spoils of whatever it was that was that hard. So
yeah, so we just don't know. But anyway, the same thing happened a second time. It healed itself. It corrected. It went back to its original state after the electron beam was turned off. Here's a look at the ceramic and the gold. You see the pitting is still there on the gold. You know, you did a little side-by-side comparison there. This was a look at when they were moving it. He was moving I grabbed this picture because he was moving the what they're viewing in the microscope. They were moving it down. So the top half of that picture there is the gold. The bottom half is just ceramic that's not covered by the gold. So just a quick look at those two together, and you see that. Just a shot. They showed this. You know, this is ceramic tiles from the space shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you could see how you can only imagine, you know, now that I have a better understanding of all of this. Now, I knew that they had some kind of tiles that were put on the space shuttle so it could re-enter the Earth's atmosphere and not burn up. And how critical that is. And we know because of the disaster that happened, we know how critical that is. But this material can withstand so much. It's really amazing. Then they decided to do a control, and they went and got some standard modern ceramic and subjected it to the same thing to see what would happen with that. Did it perform? Did it have the same effect of the pitting or the pores, as some people have called it, pores, opening and closing of the pores? Did it have the same thing happen to it as what did with the ceramic from the Mesa? The answer was no. Nothing happened to the control piece of modern tile or ceramic. Nothing happened to it.
Nope.
It didn't change at all. So, I mean, there you go. So that's one of the things that we don't always get to see because of the constraints of time in our 42 minutes of the TV show and how much film is just tossed onto the floor. We don't get to see all that stuff. And this is one of the times where we did see him use something else or do a controlled experiment with another piece.
Yep.
And these were the bits of metal and the ceramics. Remember, and the reason I grabbed this picture was because Eric wanted to take a look at the metal that was also found in the Mesa and have it looked at under the scanning electron microscope. And there it is. Now you can see where he scraped it. Apparently he scraped it a little bit up here on the top, so that it would that way they could look at what was in it and what's on it. The material that's on the surface versus the material inside. And because remember when they scanned this before, they had all kinds of different types of elements in it on it. This time when they did it, on the outside, on the inside, it was just basically iron. That was pretty much all there was. On the outside, however, they had all of these, and Mike and I were talking about this a little bit before the show. And you want to jump on that a little bit?
Yeah. So first off, the carbon steel, mild steel is like 0.25% carbon. High carbon steel is 1.5%, and cast iron is 2 to 4%, and this has 17. So that's really, really high. So there may be some additional carbon that's being deposited on the surface of that for some reason. I don't know why or how. But that's not normally that level wouldn't normally be in metal. And then looking at the zinc and aluminum, I know that they talked about the aluminum oxide and aluminum and oxygen being mixed together, but if you look at the zinc and aluminum
Oops.
together, can be galvalume, otherwise known as galvanized metal. That's the coating that goes on galvanized sheet metal or galvanized tubing like EMT, electrical metal tubing, conduit. So it is possible that instead of the aluminum and oxygen being combined, it was the aluminum and the zinc combined would give you galvanized metal. So that's just one other possibility, especially with it being almost entirely iron on the inside, which that was fantastic that Eric made that cut and gave access to the inside of that, because that makes a big difference. If we had only thought that this entire thing was the same mix of elements, that would have been really confusing and difficult to explain.
Right.
And,
Yes, it would have.
but with it being just surface, because the scan doesn't go more than a few microns into the surface. So it's really just surface elements that it's seeing.
Yep.
So anyway, it's all of the above is still possible, and all of the above is still pretty odd for, again, something coming out of the Mesa. It wouldn't matter if you pick it up off the ground, walking around outside, but it came out of the Mesa. So still very, very troubling from that standpoint.
Yeah, very much so. Tom Burns is saying, is possible, if possible, the cratering on the surface of the ceramic is to expose the subsurface to allow the subsurface to absorb energy. This might explain the additional time it takes to boil off all of that energy. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to know how deep those pores were.
That would have been very interesting to hear. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if well, you'd think that electron microscope might be able to determine that, but I don't know. They never talked about it, so we just simply don't know. So that gives us as much as we can. Michelle says that assuming the ceramic is a coating for a subfaring vessel, would that explain why it can retain heat while submerged in extreme cold? Space is very cold.
Yes, it's displaying the same properties as the shuttle tiles, like Travis said. It's that type of ceramic is really good at transferring heat extremely fast, and so it can absorb all of that, and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't transfer it to the backside of those tiles, and that essentially is what protects the shuttle. So why a chunk of that type of material is in the Mesa? It makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. So, crazy. Craig, thank you, sir. Craig, Oklahoma Youper, $10. Fire in the holes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. So we are going to get more on this a little bit next week. We'll probably hear him talk about it a little bit because, like I said, there's somebody sitting in the conference room there in Brandon's tower looking at this thing. And who did you say else was there?
Eric Davis, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah.
Very excited to see him participating.
Absolutely. So we'll get that. It's going to be interesting to see what they talk about in that for next week. So more to come on this material, because this is really, really interesting stuff. And it is probably one of the craziest things that they've come across yet on Skinwalker Ranch. So stay tuned for more. All right. So their last experiment of the season, they bring out, here's a bunch of people showing up on the ranch. And you've got Kevin from Red Devil Pyro coming out. You also have Michael from Cron Technologies. He's doing the high-speed cameras and all of that. And then, of course, Dave Mason And you guys all have seen he's the expert when it comes to thermal imaging, imagery and all of that, thermal cameras and all that stuff. And he develops his own thermal imaging cameras and whatnot. So he has his own technology as well. I don't have the link. I had a link I had it on a couple of episodes ago. I had a link to his YouTube where he did a explanation of the thermal. And it was very, very good. So if you get a chance, you can go back, but just look for Dave Mason thermal on YouTube and you can get a chance to watch it. Really good layman's terms. He explains a lot of that kind of stuff. Now the Pyro guys from Red Devil Pyro, they're out and they're getting ready to do these. I forgot what he called them, tubes. They're these tubes that they put gasoline and different types of explosive, flammable, very flammable stuff in there. And it basically what the design is, it's going to have a big fireball come out of it. But the idea behind it is to create these perfect smoke rings. These guys do this all the time. They do smoke rings all the time and they see how they float up into the air. Now, granted, they're going to have a night or a day when they don't have any wind. So you don't want the wind affecting it at all. So they got 4 of them set up in the triangle area, 3 inside the boundary and a couple outside the boundary right there near Homestead 2, which is this area right here is Homestead 2. So that's where they're going to fire them out. So you're outside the boundary, inside the boundary, and then over at the triangle in these areas. And from what they were talking about behind the gates last night, they had multiple issues with this connectivity and the connection to this and their equipment and things going awry. And how many times they're so, the guys, the team is so nonchalant about hearing the thing. I've never seen this before with our stuff.
Yeah.
How many times did that happen? And they said that last night.
They got skinwalkered.
That is the definition of being skinwalkered, right?
Yep.
I've never seen my equipment do this before, ever.
Yeah.
There you go. You've been skinwalkered. Thank you very much. Now, here's a little thing showing the smoke rings. You can see them happening there. And there they are. Here's those tubes they were talking about. This is like a 15-gallon one, this big one. Jill Payne. Wow. Holy cow. Jill, thank you very, very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you for the support. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. So they got this big one, the 15-gallon. They got a bunch of smaller ones, and I guess they had set up. They came out there loaded to bear. They had a lot of stuff ready to go for this, to make this happen. And I grabbed this picture because of all the cameras. These guys had all kinds of cameras set up all over the place. Not only Michael from Cron, but also Dave Mason and his cameras that were there. I mean, they had them all over the place to try to catch a lot of this stuff, thermals and everything else. They fire off their very first one during the day before it got dark out. And lo and behold, it did not, and it was right at the triangle. It did not make a smoke ring. It made some kind of a weird, they called it a figure 8 or something like that. It had never formed an actual smoke ring. And you heard the Kevin say something about, well, that's unusual. It doesn't do that.
Yeah. Welcome to Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, welcome to Skinwalker Ranch. And then the thing about it is that, and this was here. This is what I used for the thumbnail. This is just awesome.
That was a cool shot.
I don't think I would want to be doing that, flying that drone right there where that big fireball was coming at my drone.
It'd be up really high and just zoom in.
Yeah, I think I'd be really far away and zoom in. Yeah, good idea. The infinity sign. Betty, good catch. Yeah, infinity symbol. Marilee that came up with that too. I thought about that as well. The infinity symbol. What could that mean? Would that be some sort of a communication? Maybe. Could be. This is, look, you can see here that when they finally did get one to make a perfect smoke ring, or a nice ring to it, it rolled up just nicely, and it was making its way up. And you can see that there's no wind. And you can see it here. Look how nice that is. It's fat on one side for whatever
It's
reason.
imbalanced though.
Imbalanced.
Yep. They said that is not normal.
That also, right? Not normal.
And the side that's thin is towards the center of the triangle. It's
Is
interesting.
that a coincidence? The other thing about it, and there it is, you can see the thin side is toward the center of the triangle, heavier on the outside. But also, and there you see it again, same thing, that thin side is toward the center of the triangle. But they also, and I don't know if I got this picture or not. I was going to see, nope, I didn't grab this picture. But it also got up there, and it got up to about the 2,000 foot level, and it tilted.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I'm again, not being an expert in these things, I don't know, again, if it would just simply roll like you see it rolling here, continuing to roll. But he said it got up to about the 2,000 foot level. They were guesstimating, of course. And they seen it tilt, and then they seen it just kind of disperse, like it was being wrapped up, which I thought was really, really cool. Maybe it's not ceramic. Maybe not. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that, sir. Tim from Canada. PEI, if I remember correctly. So they did get a couple to go off. It looked really good. Then you've got the equipment malfunctions. Michael from Cron talked about how at least this one camera of his, it defaulted back to the factory specifications. So rather than giving them 65,000 frames, it was only doing about 15,000 frames. How many times have we seen equipment malfunctions where it resets itself or deletes some of the data that's inside, like maps, star maps, getting just removed when you're trying to find them?
The telescopes, yep.
Yeah. All kinds of different things like that happening. So, I mean,
and he made it sound like it wasn't a simple change, that a number of things had to be changed for that to happen.
Right.
To be in the mode that it was in. So
most of the quite a few of the smoke did not make a ring at all. It actually just did something like this, just a puff of smoke going up there. It didn't actually form into a ring. And the only time that the guys have ever seen that sort of thing happen when it does that is when it was windy out, and then they couldn't get the rings to form. It was just simply too windy. But as you saw, it wasn't windy at all. I mean, even look at this. It blew off right above the triangle, and it's still right above the triangle. So there's a shot of a fireball. I just had to, because, I mean, fireballs are awesome. I mean, they're just so cool. Then they get out to the western boundary, which is over by the drill site, between the drill site and Homestead 2. They go over there to do a few. And again, I go back to that same thing about talking about how they had multiple issues that night with equipment failures and connectivity issue, and everything's hardwired, isn't it? I mean, everything seems to be hardwired that I've noticed.
Yeah, they seem to have some pretty sophisticated control systems.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It seemed like they were having, like you said, issue after issue that they'd never seen before, which is par for the course on Skinwalker Ranch, but not for folks that come in
anywhere else. Yeah. Anywhere else, or anybody that wants to get Skinwalker. So they fire off a few over at the western boundary. And there again, I just love those pictures of the fireballs going up. But again, they got some that were making a good smoke ring and some that weren't. The ones that weren't, And then did have an equipment failure. They were trying to. This was just one of the many. And they were. If you saw this on the show, the lights were on the top of it. Were just these two lights right here on the top were just blinking back and forth, just going nuts, just going haywire.
Yep.
And that thing is a remote. You see an antenna on it, so it is affected by radio frequency to some degree. But you see the thing just going haywire. They were able to, and this happened throughout the night. And then also at the same moment, they had GPS failures from the drone that was on the GP or on the the one drone from Omnitech.
Yep.
That they were flying around, and it just had a failure also. So GPS corruption data happening all the stuff happened about the same time. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
All these failures.
Yep. Rapid succession. Very curious.
Very curious. Very curious. Oh, I'm going to bring this up. Linda stepped away for a second. B. Jones, thank you so much, B. Hopefully Mike and Jeff will not revert back to factory settings.
I don't know. As many faults as I've got, it might help. Just reset once in a while.
Reset once in a while. We enjoy you just the way you are. Thank you, B. Jones. That was very kind to you. I appreciate that. Larry Jones also. Larry, thank you. Glad your show is here. I am too. And I'm so thankful to have all you guys watching. I really do. And I appreciate it so much. We have such a smart chat. Everybody in chat. I mean, we talk about this over and over again about how, you all are so intelligent, and it's like, if I don't know the answer to something, you guys do, or if Mike doesn't, everybody does. But we just, and that's why we love doing these live. I just love doing it live because I love to interact with all of you guys during this. Oh man, I'm so, thinking about Phenomenon. I just, love meeting everybody. It's so cool. Another fireball. This was the big 15-galloner that they shot off. And you see it going up there. And then they had the double. It was actually supposed to be a triple, but the one didn't go off.
Right.
And this one was kind of cool too, because here they went off side by side. You see them side by side. Okay. And this is not at the triangle. This is over at the western boundary. So you can actually see them down there. So they're not at the triangle. They're at the western boundary at this point. They fired these two off. One of them made a beautiful smoke ring, and the other one did not. The one that did not was on the outside of the boundary, and the one that did, it was on the inside. I think, if I remember correctly, I think the one was inside the bubble area. There's the one that made the ring. And then the one that did not make a ring at all, just a puff of smoke, was on the outside. I believe that's the way it went down. Might have to ask them if they're going to do the Q&A. I might have to ask them in there. I noticed that the last few Q&As they have on the Insider program have not had, the guys have been kind of busy. They haven't been there. It's been Brandon and Dragon was there last week, and Brandon and Pete Kelsey was there as well. So that was kind of cool. But interesting that you would get the same effect. Now, something that I caught Travis saying about this, about these ones that did not make a smoke ring, just a puff of smoke. He said that as it was going up, here, I did grab this. Form a ring. When it got, it started to form a ring, but when it got to about the 30-foot mark or so, was just blown out like a kid blowing out a candle. Now, what do we know that happens about 30 feet above the triangle, or 30 feet above, the mesa or the ground, not the mesa? That's higher. The anomaly that they saw with the, they've seen it on a few different occasions,
right.
Some sort of anomaly about 30 feet up.
Yep. They've had rockets explode at 30 feet up. All kinds of odd things.
Of really, really cool stuff happening or dramatic things happening at about 30 feet above the triangle. So the blob, yep, exactly, Jim. The blob, gremlins at 30 feet. Well, yeah, some sort of gremlins there. um, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Q and A's. Michelle said that Ben Woodruff's been there, Chris Roberts has been there, Pete Kelsey step in. Yep, it's nice to see those guys showing up there for that. The blob strikes again. Yeah, exactly. So that's very interesting that he said that the ones that all blew
Yep.
out started off with a fireball ring, but then blew out about 30 feet. But not every one,
Right.
as we saw with this picture right here. One did, one didn't. Um, did we ever get back to that structure that was in the east field of Pete? No, no, no. We haven't heard anything else about that. Pete might have more about that for us when we'll get these guys back on they're really busy right now, obviously. And that's why we had them for the first half of the season shows here with us on the podcast. Eric and Tom, everybody was, all Caleb, or Pete, Kelsey, but they're all kind of busy right now. So that's why we haven't been bothering them. I just let them go. Hopefully, after they are done filming, we'll get them back on. We'll get a little recap from those guys too about season 6. We can't talk to them about what they're doing right now, if there is going to be a season 7. So anyway, so this smoke ring thing is just blowing me away. Now, here's a picture that I grabbed that I saw. I don't know who all I saw this on. Caleb was wearing this hoodie. War crime, and I thought, okay, what's that all about? I had to go look it up myself. Wartime clothing. It's War on Drugs, the War on Drugs brand T-shirt. You can buy these on Amazon. But yeah, it says on there, it's never the first time.
I think it's never a war crime the first time.
It's never a war crime the first time. Yeah. Yeah. So pretty cool. So you see the guys are promoting different things, and the war on drugs would be a good thing that somebody who works at the sheriff's department would be all about,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So I checked those out. I mean, I he didn't ask me to promote that, but anyway, Pete Spire, that structure, yeah. More was done with that area and more found. Ooh. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Be prepared for that. And then as they were finishing up, and again they had, and I wrote down some of these things that the problems that they had: high speed camera issues, smoke rings were funky, blowing out at 30 feet. They had connectivity issues, GPS signal corruption problems, and all of that right around the perimeter. They said around the perimeter of that, and then this stuff here, which was these UAPs or something. We don't know what they were. Now, Dave Mason talked very clearly, candidly about this. The fact that he has, he's done thermal cameras for a long, long time. He knows what birds look like. He knows what planes look like. He knows what these things look like. Explainable moving objects in his thermal imaging. He knows what they are. He knows what they look like. That you can now. These he did not. Now these were cruising along the mesa, above the mesa, just above the mesa. You can kind of see it there in the background. And this thing, these two pictures here, you can see it just zooming along, and it actually has a little bit of a tail. But thermal does that.
Yeah. Right.
Cool. I mean, just more. Yeah, they look like saucers or something. Yeah, they did, and it looked like there was two of them, and they were following the same flight path. I don't know if it was two, but it did look like there was more than one. Whatever these things were, moving across the screen there. One is smaller. Yeah, it did look like it could be. Yeah. Um, and he picked them up, and these were hotter than the everything around. So that how often do we see UAPs show up on a thermal quite frequently. But this one here, they're so much hotter than the surrounding area. Again, we don't know what that differential is. And that was something that on Dave's equipment that we saw before, we just don't know what the differential is between the background imaging that's kind of a yellowy orange color and these here being very yellow. Don't know what the temperature differential is on that, but they showed up and they streaked across the sky, and he caught it. So with all those cameras going and everything else that was happening there, I can't believe this was all they got, but maybe we'll see more.
Yep.
Maybe we'll see more.
One
This
more
I thought
chance
was, yeah, one more chance.
next week.
This here I thought was very, very interesting. And I don't know how to explain this. Maybe somebody in our chat can figure this out, or Mike, maybe you know. But while he said right after the UAPs, the Mesa line went from this here. You look at now, I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. This line you see on the top of the Mesa that runs all the way across here, that line is heat. So the very rim of the Mesa, all the way along there in that shot, got hotter than the surrounding area. And this was right after the UAPs crossed. And then immediately after that, they got cold. The same line. How is that possible? Anybody have a guess?
This ranch drives me crazy. I swear. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looked like in order for that to happen, something up high would have to radiate heat and then suddenly reverse that and get very, very cold, pulling heat from the top of the Mesa.
Yeah, like the drum circle. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's one of those weird temperature anomalies that sometimes happen.
Yeah, when Blazing Bear was playing on the drums, and then that area up there where that spiral is of rocks.
Yep.
Up there suddenly got very warm, and then they saw those two anomalies go into the Mesa. Those two orange anomalies. The spiral, yeah, John, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I was the most interesting part of the experiment. Yeah, the UAP showing up and then the thermal changing like that on the ridge. That was pretty crazy, I thought. Again, now remember that we've seen something similar to that before. Remember back in like, I don't know, season 2, 1? I don't know. This was early on. 2018, that's quite a few years ago. 7 years ago. So I've been season 1. Yeah. Remember the glowing Mesa on the first season? Yep. Did they ever give a reason for that? Nope. And they didn't know why. But it happened before. And Dave Mason just caught it again on a thermal camera. So that's crazy. Remember those beams? Remember the beams of light that they were showing coming down into the Mesa or going up from the Mesa? That was pretty cool too.
Yep.
Yeah. So 2018. So we've seen that before. And, they talk about all the different electronics that just go absolutely bonkers. And things have happening with everybody's equipment. I don't think that anybody that's been out there has not had any equipment malfunctions at some point or another, whether it be connectivity, resetting itself back to factory defaults, changing the settings, not working all of a sudden, rockets not firing, these canisters not firing, smoke going. I mean, everybody has had brown socks at some point because they can't figure out why all of a sudden you see their faces and they almost they're like embarrassed. They're going, I don't know what's wrong. I can't explain this. And the guys are now, they're just kind of like, yeah, yep. Where have we heard that
Yep.
before? Yep. It happens. But again, you go back to 2018 and you talk about different things. Remember this? You remember Caleb's phone and the numbers, and the keypad was just being like somebody was punching it a million times a second, and it was, the numbers were just scrolling, and the numbers and everything were just scrolling by.
Some odd stuff.
Remember that happening? That was
Yep.
crazy, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Eric was able to replicate that by bringing out that huge magnet he's got that should terrify anyone that's around it. But I don't think
Yes.
people realize how dangerous that thing is.
Yeah.
And he
that's
was able to replicate it.
hugely dangerous.
So, how does that happen out in the middle of a field?
Yeah. Electromagnetic interference of some crazy source. Now,
Right.
remember when they showed that, I think it was Lunasonde, and they were showing that power, a 1
Yeah.
gigawatt
Right.
power source hovering above the triangle.
That might be enough to disrupt smoke rings.
Or electronics or phones or
Yeah. Just about anything.
yeah.
Batteries can do a lot of strange things
Mm-hmm.
with that much power.
Yeah, with that much power. So I tell you what, folks, the days of the people that are out there in their skepticism, I'm always a little skeptical of what's going on, but I tell you what, after watching this show for now 6 seasons and seeing what's happening out there.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that too, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Looking
face of
around
John
like,
Frankie,
is
was like,
somebody doing something to me? Candid
yeah.
camera.
And he watched his equipment. That was his equipment.
Yeah. That he invented and built himself.
Yeah. Things that make you go, yeah, Robert, absolutely. But yeah, so a couple of things that I wrote down that were being said. Travis talked about the firebomb, the firebomb, a boundary at the boundary, something pushing the hot smoke away from the bubble. Multiple occasions of that night.
Mhm.
Pushing it away from the bubble. They also talk, and they were looking back at some of the information. We just brought this up. I think it was last week. We were talking about this here. The thing in the Mesa, that when they were pushing up against it with the hole shot, I think it was hole shot drillers were there first, and they were pushing up against something hard. And the beacon that it started the harmonics, and we were talking about the harmonics. When they pushed up against it, it was creating the harmonics. They backed it away and it stopped. Pushed up against it, it created the harmonics, pulled it away, and it stopped. That was pretty cool.
Yes.
That was very interesting. And this was a shot of that. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was, I think, one of the first times I've seen Eric get to be able to do more than they show, because we know they didn't show everything, but to actually try and diagnose something. And he was able to show that they could control that interference. And so they know that for, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you press on it with that drill head, those harmonic spikes will appear.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yep.
what conclusion do you come with that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
wow. The studio is being changed a little bit. I'm looking like a floating head over here, aren't I? Just notice that it's all dark outside. But anyway, so another thing that was said, and this is the key for everyone for the future here. At the end of Behind the Gates with Maddie Blake, Eric Bard said this. There are some things we have yet to show you that in fact suggest a connection between the bubble and the anomaly in the Mesa. Because we've been wondering about that, haven't we? We've been wondering about here. You've got the center being the triangle area and this dome bubble over that whole area. The drill site being just inside of it on the edge and the western boundary, just inside. But now there are some things we have yet to show you that, in fact, suggest a connection between the bubble and the anomaly in the Mesa. Stay tuned. Yep. Thank you, Jim. Stay tuned. Wow. I wanted to throw this question out to you guys. We've seen quite a few different experiments happening this season, and we've seen the results of that. What has been your favorite experiment thus far? I'm asking the chat and also asking Mike and Linda if you want to pipe in with my name on it down there in the chat. What was your favorite experiment? If you could pick one, which one was your favorite? Now, remember, there was quite a few. They did the dumpster fires. They they did the drones. I always love the drones coming out and doing their thing out there. What was yours, Mike? Can you think of one that was your favorite?
I think it was the going back and forth across the bubble with the helicopter and the drones, and discovering that there seemed to be a correlation between that 2,000 foot radius from the center. That to me, that gave them, it gave them something to really start to look at and to correlate to other things that didn't make sense before. Like I said, the throwing the bottles out of the helicopter. Didn't know what to make of that back then. I mean, it was just odd. But then to have that result corroborate what they were seeing in this season, to me, that was really, really good. It feels like they're finally making some traction on figuring out what all is going on, and they can then craft experiments specifically around that now that they know for sure that that's there most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Static versus dynamic. A lot of people are jumping in saying lasers. Yesterday's episode with the ceramic is Robert. Craig and Joey are talking lasers. Buffalo Val says the Kraken. Could the bubble act as a shield? I think it's possible, especially if it has a gigawatt power source.
Yeah. It does seem to try and want to keep things out of that region, whether it's in the air, on the ground, or
electronics working in the area. The Lunasonde experiment. Yep. That was another great one. Yep. Every experiment yielded data. So I think every experiment was amazing. They all moved the needle towards or forward in some way. That's why I think this has been one of the most pivotal seasons yet. I agree, Jim. Yeah, it really truly has. And the finding of actual physical evidence, that ceramic and those metal pieces, I think that is hugely important. Like a warning system, the bubble. Ceramic analysis, most of the experiments made you go, huh? Yeah. Drones, I think they are my favorite. And the reaction in the ranch is atmosphere. Yeah.
Getting stuck.
Yeah. Just, I think, don't forget the anomalies in control. Droneageddon. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think for me, I kind of sum it up. Pete Kelsey's photogrammetry and LiDAR. Yeah. This has been an amazing discovering the bubble. I think you're right. I think that has been pivotal, very, very pivotal. And they found the boundaries and using the terrestrial laser scanners to be able to see that there was some sort of a dome there in the first place.
Yep.
And then they were able to find out that it was also scanning underground, which it can't do, but it was picking up something somehow or another. It was picking it up and was seeing underground as well. But figuring out that it had basically a 2,000 foot radius was important, I think, because now they have that area of interest, that they can concentrate their experimentation on. So I can't wait to see what they've been doing right now, what they're doing this season. And they talk about they have all this planned out before. Oh yeah, we plan this out before the season starts. All the experiments that we want to do. But then again, remember Eric when he was on the podcast, he was talking about speculation. Sometimes when they sit around and speculate, they come up with other ideas of things to do. Anthony said the whole kit and caboodle, they are all equally favorites. Yep. Yeah. Bringing Chris Roberts on has also been a huge help to the investigation. You're right, Jim. Absolutely. I agree. So yeah, it's been fantastic. I really applaud the guys for their efforts to make, to try and understand this. They really have gone above and beyond to try to understand what's going on out there in the ranch. And as I said many times now, it takes away all, for me anyway, it takes away all, it takes away my skepticism over the fact that there's something going on there. I don't know what yet, but this is truly a crazy place. And it was back before modern man was even there. It was a crazy place to the indigenous peoples. Why else would they have done? Remember going back to the markings on the rock. The one rock that they were looking at, and it looked like they were looking at it, they looked like portals and the protectors of the portals and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then you go out to McConkey Ranch, which I don't know. Are you going there when you're there at Phenomenon?
We may go. We may go. Yep.
If you get that opportunity, that's where I met Jim and Roger the first time, was at McConkey Ranch, and also a couple of people there. But there was a lot of people we met on that bus going. That was on the first day, the first morning, I think. And we went out to McConkey Ranch. You got to look at all the. Miriam was there too, and we got to look at all the petroglyphs on the walls, and you've seen some of those out there with the things falling out of portals. And this has been going. Yeah, it's a must see. It really is. This has been going on, folks, in this area for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And now we're throwing science at it. So we're going to get to see exactly what's going on there. So, wow. So I pretty much wraps it up for me. I'm going to, this season has been great. We're going to get a kind of a wrap up in Brandon's conference room next week. And we'll get to see a little bit more analysis. I hope they do see a UAP.
Yep.
That we
showed
did
that in the preview.
Mm-hmm. What else did the preview show for next week? Besides them sitting there talking about stuff, they
talked about the ceramic. They passed that sample around the room. Saw the UAP. What else was in that?
Eric Davis is on. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's exciting.
Yeah. So, and
should be good. Should be good.
It will be good. It's going to be a
and
good
Mr. Michelle, aka Jay, is there.
Yeah. And Jay. Yep.
Yes.
Jay too. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I saw Eric Davis's face in the previews for next week. Yep. So I tell you what, folks, this has been a great season. It really has. We got one more. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to try to gather a few people on. That's why I'm really pushing towards, if we can get Mr. Mike Owen, depending upon his schedule. I know he's going to get crazy. His mind's going to get blown when he's at Phenomenon next week. But I've asked him to fill in for me in many ways. And one of those ways is to try his best. And again, we're going to wing it as best we can here. But if he can be available next Wednesday night at 7:30 my time, 5:30 ranch time, to try to grab his cell phone, I'll bring him on as a guest or his laptop, whichever he has, and go live. And we'll do a little bit of a how's it going at Phenomicon little podcast. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we'll try to do a little bit of a live next Wednesday night. And I'm really pushing for doing a wrap up of season 6 with special guest the following week. We'll see how that goes on the 10th. So we'll try that. We're going to shoot for that. And then if Mike gets an opportunity to go live, I told him, just call me. He's got my cell phone number. Just call me. I'll try my best to clean up real quick because I'm working on the house doing different things. I'll come in, fire things up, and maybe we'll get a during the day little podcast. And Jim, I'm going to throw this out to you too. You've got a cell phone, right? So you guys can. Michelle, I mentioned this to Michelle, but I don't think she was too keen on going live and being my guest on the podcast for 10 minutes. When she's out enjoying things. We don't care if you look pretty. I don't know. Sometimes I look pretty much of a wreck. When I'm working on the house and dirty clothes and face and hands and my hair a mess and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's what we're going to shoot for next week. We're going to see what we can do. And again, no promises because Mike's going to be a busy man. We'll see what we go. But Jim, you can jump in on this as well if you get an opportunity, especially when you're out at the taco truck. I mean, come on, right? All right. Okay. Oh, Miriam's going to be recording the Hitchhiker performance. Cool. Good deal. Good deal. Are you going to be there for Saturday night, Mike? Are you staying for all of that?
We'll still be there.
Did you bring your costume for the costume contest?
No. But they play late. That's past bedtime. What, Jim? You're killing me, man. You can't be. You start after bedtime. What's up with that? You need like an early show at 4, and then.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I was getting. I tell you what, they were partying and they were rocking the house last year. And I tell you what, I was wondering at what point they were going to throw. We go on at 9. They start at 9 ranch time. So that's going to be
that's even later. Yeah, I'm used to Central, so that's a big old negative.
It's a rock and roll lifestyle, Mike. That's what Michelle's telling you. All right. Well, we're going to try our best to share some Phenomicon stuff with you guys. And again, we got a couple of spot reporters that might help us out with that, and we'll try our best to bring them in during the day. So I tell you what, if you haven't already, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I was just reading Linda's message to me there. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and also click on that notification bell, because that's how you're going to know when we decide to go live at 11 o'clock in the morning or, 3 in the afternoon or whatever for this to kind of cover Phenomicon a little bit. And if you get a chance to talk to Eric or Thomas or Caleb or anything, and they want to come on, just grab your phone.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's it for us, folks. Thank you very much for hanging with us through this. And don't forget, we are going to probably about the 10th. I think that Wednesday night, the 10th, we're going to do a wrap up of season 6. And we'll cover all of that stuff then. And we'll bring a bunch of people in here. We'll just have a fun time talking about it. Lots of pictures for the Insider Family Reunion. That'll be a lot of fun too. But thank you, folks, for joining us throughout all these 13 episodes that we've talked about so far. Mike Owen, you've been fantastic. Thank you for being my sidekick on all of this stuff, and have a great time next week. And for that, folks, we will say good night and catch you next time right here on the J Free 906 podcast. So good night, everyone.